Creating holes in objects, or hollow objects, using two-point perspective. I'm beginning with a cube like normal, but I'm imagining a square-shaped hole going through the back of it, and that's what I'm going to be drawing. My next step will be to add the front edge of the square that I'm imagining is cut out of my object, like I've shown you there. I continue to imagine that square hole that runs all the way through the object. Well, the first step is to create the face, or the shape that is on the front of the object. So I treat that front line like the front edge, as if I am drawing a poster or creating a window. I complete the front hole by adding the back edge. So now I'm imagining this as a cave, keep in mind. So I'm able to see one of the corner lines going back in space toward the right vanishing point. So I'll add that in. I only need to draw the part that's visible through my hole. To make it clearer, I can shade in the interior that I've created. This process can be used to create cabinets, give windows depth, to add doorways that you can see through, any number of other things. And I'll show you a couple of different applications for it with a few more examples. In this example, I show you an object that I can see all the way through to the opposite side. Imagine we're creating a square-shaped ring. I start by creating the hollow opening like I did in the last one, and adding any corners, any inside corners that I can see. And since those corners go toward the right vanishing point, I show them going toward the right vanishing point. Now, if I imagined the backside of this object, I would be able to see all the way through it, through that little sliver of space there that I've illustrated. So I need to illustrate that back opening using two-point perspective. I show the bottom edge of the back opening by connecting the left vanishing point to the right rear corner. And I do the same thing for the top edge. Now I connect the two corners that these edges form to show the left edge of the rear side of the object. And that should complete my opening. Now I erase any lines that I no longer need. And adding some shading to the inside will make it clearer to you what this object really looks like. Since this object is a ring, I've made it darkest in the middle. I've also added back in the horizon line because I've created a hole in my object which I can see through, so I can see the horizon line again. On the final object, I'll draw a window that looks back onto the rear edge of the object. I begin by creating the window's front edge, similar to the process we used in doors, windows, posters, and carpets. Now, I've created my window, but I need to show that I can see through the window. The window leads toward the right vanishing points here, but the window sill will turn at a right angle and go toward the left. I've illustrated that for you on the screen here. To show this, I begin by connecting the bottom right corner of my window and the top right corner of my window to the left vanishing point to show how deep my window will go. And then I add a back edge to it to show that depth. I erase any lines that I don't need. And I add in the top and bottom edges of the window, which in this case lead to the right vanishing point. To add these edges, I connect the right vanishing point to that corner, that bottom right corner of the window there, but just show the inside edge. of my object. Now I logically know I must be able to see that back edge of the object that I would see through this window I've created, but I need to show that like I have in my highlighted red lines. I extend the corners of the object that I can see through the window that I've created. And to show the rear edge of the object, I'm connecting the left vanishing point to the right bottom corner of my object. And here I'm just extending that inside corner a little bit more because I've had a little gap between my back edge. Now, since those lines come to a corner, I know that I can see through the object, and I need to add a vertical line to show the back edge of the hole. Now I'm shading the inside to make the object a bit clearer for you. And again, I've added back in that horizon line, which I can now see since I can see all the way through this cube. In this video demo, I'll show you how to create a peaked roof like you can see, and to do this, you'll need to be able to find the perspective center. So the center of an object is normally what splits the left and the right evenly. But if we're looking at an object in perspective, this center line seems to get closer to the left. And this is because as the object goes back in space, it appears to get smaller. So now we have to find the perspective center. To do this, we choose the main face, or the end of the roof, and create an X going from one corner of the box that you have on that side to another. These will form an X. In the center of this X, the place where the lines cross, you will draw a vertical line that goes up as tall as you want your roof to be. This line represents the perspective center. This is the center of this rectangle in perspective. Now, the top of this line is extended above the rectangle because the very top of that line is going to be the peak of the roof, which I'm drawing in now. The sloped lines of the roof will run from the corners of the house's face to the top of this line. Now I erase any lines that I no longer need, and I have the front face of my little barn or garage or house here. Technically, I should be repeating this process on the back face as well, and I'll show you myself doing that now. But if you've already made the front face in perspective center, I won't count you off points if you just estimate where the slope of that back edge of the roof should be, instead of drawing another face for it and creating the perspective center again. If I am doing things the right way though, I'm going to connect that left vanishing point with that front peak of the roof to show how that peak of the roof goes back in space. The roof line will stop at that rear line, which represents the perspective center of the back wall. And now I connect the upper corner of the back wall to the peak of the roof in perspective to create the back slope. And I erase any lines that I no longer need. Now, since the slope of the roof and the side of the house form an angle, I add a line to represent that angle. And now I have my house, garage, whatever you want to call it.